Do you think that most IT directors now do really appreciate what the cloud is trying to do?
Yes, I think they do by and large. I think where they're still struggling is really to get to grips with how it's going to work for them and what business benefits it's really going to bring. So at the moment, I think the debate is very technical, and I think the IT directors are beginning to understand how and where that can play. But I think there's still a big gap to what's it actually mean for the business. What the industry's managed to do is to break up into lots of little bits what IT was trying to bring together into a coherent, business-oriented approach before. So I think everybody who's in the various parts of cloud, whether it's infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, software providers, need to come together and start thinking about how they deliver an end service to the customer rather than the piece parts. So I think the orientation is towards how do you architect, how do you orchestrate, how do you aggregate all these bits to something that an end user will use, and they've got to start coming together to tell that story. The idea that you can go on and just get your applications delivered to you almost as if, like turning on a switch, I think that's probably what's going to drive it. Clearly in other parts, things like infrastructure as a service and platform as a service have their part to play, but I think from a size of the market point of view, SaaS is going to be far and away the biggest element and probably the biggest driver of this. I think we're getting over the security issues slowly, although I still think there's a lot of work to be done out in the enterprises, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, about what that means. The service level agreements, the contractual, the governance relationship between people is changing. So I think that's a big area that needs to be addressed. And the other I think is learning to speak business speak. So as long as the cloud speaks technical, it won't cross that chasm into mainstream until it starts to learn to talk business. They've got to get out of the idea of how many people have I got in my organization and how do I deliver business benefit to the business. To think more about, I think as you've alluded to, what's the governance relationship, what's the arrangements we need to put in place there. So I think they need to look to a completely new set of skills that they need to bring into their organizations and maybe think less about how many technical architects do I have in my team or operations people and actually start thinking much more in terms of governance and that sort of issue.